Noisecast.
Noisecast in episode 28. The Finnish noise spring is ahead, and next weekend, when it's Easter, Dead Door Unit is touring Finland with 3 different gigs. Also worthwhile mentioning, Triptych from Germany is also accompanying them on each of the gigs. So first gig on 3rd is in Helsinki with Absolute Key, Vigilantism and Athropist supporting. On 4th in Turku with Invagination first gig, Jazz Hand and Rautakymi. And the next day on Sunday the 5th in Tampere, where is also Absolute Key, and then the new harsh noise project of How That Guy, which is Monocyclocybercilia. I think there is some sort of moniker for it, but I can't remember. But that's the next big thing that is happening in Finnish live noise scene. Personally, I am very much waiting for the Turku gig, which I am attending. Dead Door Unit is a name that has been bouncing around for few years now, and the guy seems to be quite active writing reviews on the special interest forum. Also, Triptych is a project that I've been bumping into many times during the past years. I think it's their first time in Finland as for Dead Door Unit, so definitely each of the gigs is worth checking out. It has been a while since there has been this new Finnish noise tapes section in Noisecast, so why not revive it now? A while back, Kymijoen Levyt, which is a tape label run by the Rautakymi guy, released a new batch of tapes. And the first one that I listened to was a project called Neil, which I have no clue who it is. It's totally new name for me, and I think this is their debut tape. But whoever the guy is behind the project has most definitely done their homework on Filth and Violence label. Tape cover is a classic collage of dead bodies, the old industrial cliche which some people keep complaining about. There's 2 tracks, one on A side, one on B side. First track is called Blood Frenzy, Blood Victory, and the B side is Show No Mercy, in good old Slayer style. The material on the tape, to me it sounds like it's done with just amps and some maybe distortions and a microphone. It's highly feedback drenched vocals in the same mix. It kind of reminds me some of the project on Filth and Violence label, which used same type of production with just feedback howling like crazy from maybe 2 amplifiers or something like that. 1 mic, maybe some pedals, and that's basically the whole soundscape. And it really works when you do it well. The feedback kind of melts into this low growl and has howling sounds, and it's just really schizophrenic sound. Vocals are shouted in the mix. Very frantic vocal work. The label description also said that the tape might have some beats, but I only recall like a snare drum at the end of the B side, and that's about it. And even that reminds me of some Filth and Violence catalog releases. But very, very nice tape. It's a kind of a trip to the past in a very good way. I am highly surprised that someone is still, like young kids, so to speak, are still able to reproduce that classic filth and violence sound and worship the good old dirty roots of Finnish noise. Second tape is the debut tape of the Monocyclocybercilia or something like that. The harsh noise project of the guy who does Haudat will be playing, like I mentioned before, next week on Sunday in Tampere. This debut tape is, I think, long sold out, but I definitely recommend everyone to keep your eyes peeled on the project, because I am sure something will appear sooner than later. This tape is, if I've understood correctly, a result of very intense indulgence of 90s merch ball. Tape comes in a Ziploc bag, a little bit bigger one, with a nice, very colorful insert, and the tape is very nice. Orange color tape with some stickers on it. Very short tape. Each side is less than 8 minutes long, but it's definitely long enough to give you the idea what this project is all about. Very colorful, tasteful palette of, I believe, junk metal is some of the source of the sound. At least that is how it sounds to my ears. I am sure lots of tape machines are used and such. It's a very interesting approach to harsh noise. You kind of have the knowledge beforehand about this 90s Merzbow craze that the guy was on, but still it has very much his own handprint all over the material. It basically sounds like how that harsh noise. It has that kind of trademark tape sound to it, but very intense tape and highly enjoyable. It's very easy to listen to this tape like 3 times in a row, because it's not too long, but also there is so much detail going on during the tape that you kind of want to revisit it and notice new colors on the palette each time you listen to it, so to speak. Unfortunately myself, I can't attend the gig on next week Sunday. I would love to, but I sincerely hope that I will be able to catch this project live at some other time. tape we have Fišnarka, and the tape is called, if I can just get my eyes fixed on it, Lysohalvien Radio. This is a tape from the Sudden Movements label, which is a relatively new label, and I have some of their tapes. For example, the Tyhjäpää tape, and I think I have the Gruvspara tape as well, and now the Fišnarka tape. Tapes themselves have very nice handmade feel to it. Also a very dense smell of tar on the cover papers, dubbed on recycled tapes. I have no previous run-ins with this Fišnarka act, so I don't know who is behind the project, but that is quite irrelevant. The tape itself is 30 minutes long, so it's 15 minutes per side, I think. Very interesting material. It is sort of like leans a little bit on the same soundscapes with Aprapat, but does have its own sound. I think there is some sort of string instruments manipulated like acoustically, deep in the layers. There's lots of field recordings, at least to me, lots of tape and manipulation, and especially like this tape distortion. Very interesting tape. Goes by really fast because there is so many layers in the sound that you kind of keep observing them one at a time, but then you just kind of have to revisit it after the first listen. It's sort of, if I would have to say, it's like field recordings harsh noise or something like that, and with all this like really cozy handmade covers and tapes. And I think this really, people don't maybe think about it that much, but even have this smell of tar on the cover papers really adds to the feel and the impression of the tape and the material. Kind of gives this more fuller experience, and it really affects how you listen to the material as well, I think so. Tape is criminally limited to 20 copies, but I suggest that you check out Sudden Movements blogspot page and see if it's still available. I am sure there might be even another edition if the demand is high enough. And overall, I suggest to check out Sudden Movements label. There's very interesting things happening there. And Fišnarka is very good example of it. We have listened to some new noise tapes. Now it's time to go back a little bit over a month ago. In Lahti there was a gig night called Viimaa Villasukkia, and this is Noisecast's report from that evening. We are currently somewhere in Lahti, and less than an hour ago, probably third or fourth installment of Viimaa Villasukkia gig night has concluded, which could be freely translated to something like
wintry breeze and woolly socks.
Yeah. Excellent night once again. Stacked lineup. And we have here Mr. Jazz Hand talking about the gigs that we saw and heard tonight.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Finger. Well, if we focus now on the name of the event, Viimaa Villasukkia, wintry breeze and woolly socks, I think that combines the main element of these evenings, that they have all sorts of experimental noise, but also contribute to folk music or to more free jazz stuff. It's not only focused, for example, power electronics or harsh noise.
Yeah.
And that is something that, for me personally, makes these evenings one of the highlights of the noise year here in Finland annually.
Absolutely, and it's always a pleasure to come here. Lineups have always been really good.
Yes.
And the gig place itself, it's also quite unique when you think about noise gigs in Finland. Rarely you get a nice, it's kind of an old theater or something like that, seated gig, very nice stage. And what I personally like a lot about this venue is that the video projection,
top notch.
Yeah.
Top notch.
Because it's shot from such an angle that you don't get those annoying shadows of the performers on the video or anything like that. So you can fully enjoy. And I think most of the artists, they prepare very nice and well done videos for these events.
Oh yeah, it definitely allows the artists to bring out the best of themselves, and also the sound system is
Incredible.
superb.
Yeah. And of course always have to mention this is also kind of a nice little gathering of noise heads and experimental people and stuff like that. Like all over Finland, people are coming just for this event here in Lahti. Well, what was the first performer? It was Metsäkirkko and Nasia.
Yeah, Nasia, who is also the organizer of these venues, usually plays on every of these events as the first performer.
Yeah.
First, he started 3 years ago when these events started. He was doing solos, but now he's probably moving towards collaborations. I guess I might be wrong, but he definitely works in the same field as Metsäkirkko.
Yeah.
So both artists or groups are focusing on nature and on their music, but also on the background visuals. So these two players definitely play it together very well.
Yeah, it's felt like a very natural collaboration when you
absolutely.
think about these artists. The background video, I think it was a little bit more from the Nasia realm. When you think about the gig he played last year, he had a little bit of same type of visuals. And it started with an old gramophone playing a record.
Yeah.
And then they kind of started to lure in other elements. There was a acoustic drum or something like that, but it wasn't really played, it was more handled. And then there were harmonicas and stuff like that. And it was relatively easygoing gig. That's the only way I can think about it. Delicate sounds and acoustic sounds also. And what was the most interesting element, at the end of the gig there was this, what do you call mangeli in English? Well, the machine that you use to flatten out clothes.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
You could say something like that. And it was only used for the motor sound, pretty much.
And that created the background hum.
Yeah, at the last part.
Yeah, and also like the background rhythm for the show. Nasia was like the main thing, and
Yeah.
Metsäkirkko providing like the backup.
Yeah, supporting sounds.
Yes.
And at the end, in the last part, I think Nasia was, I don't know what he was like crunching with his hands, maybe pine cones or something like that. I don't know, but it was very a pleasure to listen to.
That's very good point, because I saw that he had something like very colorful that looked very artificial, at least to me. It looked to be like plastic, but as you mentioned, the sound was very organic.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, what is this stuff that he's manhandling there in the center of the stage? But yeah, it sounded pretty darn good.
And the background video also had this interesting flow from like nature visuals, and then there was the insect part, and then the last part was the dead squirrel on the highway.
Yeah, the insect part turning into dead squirrel that these insects are eating on side of the road. I
just immediately like start to think about, is there some sort of cycle thing or something like that? I don't know, but it was a very good video and very good gig as well. A very nice opener as well.
Next was Aholan Cylinder from nearby town of Kouvola.
Oh yeah, a duo that every time I've seen them, they've played almost every time something different than the last time. It's always nice to come to their gigs because you never know what's gonna happen, but it's always good and delivers. And I also think that this project is at its best in live setting.
And currently they are like on their best season, for me at least, because every time I see that Ahola and Cylinder are playing, to me it's like, I know it's what it's going to be. But then when I see them perform and hear the sounds, it's always like surprise to me. Like, I didn't see this coming, even though I had the idea in the first place. And this show and their previous one that I saw last July at the BHM Fest has been like top-notch performing from them, and I had to like thank these guys afterwards. Like, you know, you are doing like something different.
The set consisted of, it had this like a industrial type of pulse going on maybe through the whole set, and then they were crafting sounds like there was a lot of synths and stuff like that, like built on top of it, and also some vocal work, which is also, it's kind of strange when you think about it. When you think about all the elements they had, you would think that this was like a power electronics gig, but it didn't really have that feel.
No, to me, like the first idea when they started was like, okay, now these guys are flirting with IDM or something like some sort of like club music or something, and the background visual was also flirting with this like Soviet style of industrial settings of factory pipes and melting of iron.
Yeah.
And the
Very
other,
industrial.
yeah, and Cylinder was wearing this very like glassy suit, looking like some sort of 70s communist news anchor.
Yeah.
And Ahola instead was like looking this like post-Soviet 90s like gabber from East Europe, and they had this like great chemistry between them. And Cylinder was looking very angry to the crowd and pointing his finger and shouting something
yeah.
without microphone. And very, very great like performance from them. And I had to tell these guys, you know, guys, you probably should go to this town called Berlin because they probably enjoy your show really much.
Yeah, that was
Bergheim, get ready.
surprising, but not surprising.
Yeah.
Extremely good. I enjoyed it like immensely. Very nice. Third one was it the fuckings?
The fuckings.
We need to get the fucking
No, we don't. But the fucking was like the element during this evening that was like out of the like well, not out of the but perhaps like few steps outside of the like noise or power electronic.
Yeah, an ambient. It usually, in the past years, it has been like an acoustic performance or something like that.
towards folk music, I'd say.
Yeah. But
But
now
no-
it was completely opposite.
Yeah, it was free. I'm not sure was it free jazz, but it was definitely free. There was free improvisation, but also flirting with noise and rock even. So the trio was like guitarist, drummer, and saxophone with
Yeah,
with
I think he had, like-
effects.
Yeah, and I think he had contact mics on it and maybe some objects inside the saxophone because he kept shaking it. Extremely loud, which was surprising, probably even to the most of the audience, because I saw quite a lot of people leaving the concert hall because it was
Wimps and
just,
posers.
yeah, unbearable volume level. To me, it really like echoed really old Japa noise and like maybe something like Hijokaiden was doing way back. My only complaint is that the guitar was maybe a little bit too loud because you couldn't really hear the drums. Or maybe it was where I was sitting, I don't know, but and you don't really have that kind of, no one is playing that kind of stuff, at least not in Finland. So I would like to see them perform more.
Lots of noise heads like free jazz, but as you mentioned, you don't see that live here.
Yeah, no you don't. And I've missed all the great like Porpetomagus gigs or something like that used to happen in Finland like 20 years back. But this was very refreshing and so fucking loud, which I also enjoyed even though my ears were completely slaughtered. Was it Abusides Ame? Or how do you pronounce it? You probably know it better. Or are we missing something here?
I think we're not. Yeah, Abyss Dame was the next one, and I think I've seen all of their performance prior to this one. And I like how they were on the stage. They were placed on the left side in the shadows. They were not on the center of the stage like most performers are, but they're almost hiding in the curtains.
Yeah. And what was on the center of the stage was the background video, which was basically just one image. And that was quite interesting image. It's kind of difficult to describe, but some sort of weird astral stuff.
Well, that was like the big question I was thinking like the whole show through, that is this material, is this happening something like inside my head, like small millimeter side of movement of electronic impulses or chemicals, or is this something very like magnitude of like planets moving? But that's also what is in their stuff, in their music, that you hear that there's like big things happening, but at the same time like very small fragments moving in their sound.
Yeah, this was also evident at the gig. There was a lot of, you could hear these kind of micro sounds. There were like big sounds, but also these like really delicate small sounds.
Yeah.
And what I took from the picture, because it had like a figure standing on some sort of a level or something like that.
Hovering in space,
Yeah.
but then again there was dimensions and
And there was the splash coming from like underneath it.
yeah.
And then there was like a portal where was another figure standing and kind of mirroring. I don't know, it was like something comes from below and then like enters there. I don't know. But it was interesting and highly enjoyable gig. Compared to last summer at the Brownhill Fest, this didn't have the unfortunate interruption, but it was also very different from that gig, at least to my ears. I don't know how much there was pre-recorded sounds and how much they were like recording stuff on the spot or playing or something like that, because you couldn't really see anything. But maybe that's part of the charm.
Yeah. I think like big thing about their shows is that there are these visual elements. Prior to this, it has been a silent horror flick, or a great piece where there was like this black umbrella rolling in the like heavy smoke machine fog, like, which was very good like visual element. And now they have this picture, and to me like that's always like the key to the show.
Yeah.
Focus on the visual element and see how the music supports it, almost as like soundtrack.
True. Yeah, that's the feeling that I got from the even from the stage setting, because they were like intendedly in the shadows and there was just the image like this is what you're gonna get and the sound. Go from there.
And there are always lots of electronics, but also instruments.
Yeah, acoustic stuff.
Yeah, some parts when it feels like this is some sort of like flirting with electroacoustic stuff, even without being that, but still works perfectly.
Yeah.
But and they also released in LP tonight from 100,000.
Oh, really?
You didn't get that?
I saw it, but I thought it was the previous one.
Big L right there, big L.
Well. closing act of the evening was Halomanage.
That's right down your alley. More than mine, I'd say.
Big fan of aural hypnox stuff in general. I have seen Halomanage live a few times. Last time I saw them back in Oulu, and that gig was like something in my mind that even Halomanage probably cannot top. It was extremely loud, and just these low roaring bass frequencies that kind of, you could feel it in your body and in your intestines and stuff like that. That was pretty much perfection. Tonight it was a little bit different. There was, of course, the trademark bass roars there, but there was a lot of acoustic elements, like, well, horns have always been used in Halomanage, but this time they were used a little bit more and given more space. And there was like a beaten up drum cymbal on a stand or something like that, where he was also getting sounds from. What were your takes from this gig?
As I mentioned, this was probably more your stuff than mine, but I enjoyed it. I'm not a big fan of dark ambient or what you want to call that, but it was alright. My initial thought was that this is unfair that he's playing last after the Abyss, but I may be biased.
Well, it's a matter of taste, I guess.
Oh yeah, and the background visual was very, very high quality.
Yeah, that was amazing work, and
lots of underwater footage, but also footage from Finnish forests during winter.
It seemed like water was like a dominant element when you think about like snow. That's also water, and then there was lots of like underwater stuff, and then there was like I think it was, the image was like flipped upside down, and
yeah, at some point
like
the bubbles were going like from top to bottom.
Yeah. And it was probably shot with some high definition camera or something like that, because it was like really crystal clear and focus and was on point. Very nice background video as well, and very nice closing act, at least in my opinion, for the evening. Crowd turnout seemed to be quite good, at least as many people as last year, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that the event has this, like, same people come there every year, and hopefully next year even more new faces show up. So definitely, if you are living in Finland or planning to come to Finland, February is a great time to come here.
Noisecast.